Hey everyone, Mo here, and before the video begins, I just want to let you guys know that my schedule has opened up for me to do coaching again. So if you're interested in private one-on-one coaching for me to help you, whether you're a newer player and you want to excel at the game very quickly and learn the fundamentals without developing any bad habits early, or if you're an experienced player who's already maybe platinum or diamond in your top 1%, but you need some help filling in the gap to get you to that 0.01%, to make you just some of the best, then hit me up on Discord and I can get you in some private one-on-one coaching lessons to help you polish up any skills you want to refine and help you learn all of the secrets to becoming a top player. That's it. I hope you enjoy the video. Hey everybody, Mo here, bringing you another Deck Guide for Dummies series. And in this video, I'm going to be going over the new Aphelios Twisted Fate deck. So, Aphelios, brand new champion in LoR, just had his own little mini set drop, mini champion drop, whatever you want to call it. It was basically released as Aphelios, about 20 other cards or so. And oh my god, is Aphelios the most broken champion in this game. Aphelios is the best champion in the game. He's the most broken champion in this game. And his skill ceiling is very, very high. You can be bad and win with Aphelios. You can be good and never lose with Aphelios. So hopefully after this video, you guys can see this deck list, get some tips on how to play the deck correctly. You can be one of those that just play the deck well and don't lose. A lot of people have had success with this. Josh Utter Layton has gotten rank 2 on North America server with this. JO1 has hit 2400 LP on EU for rank 1 there, and 2200 LP on Asia for rank 1 there simultaneously, with a record of 28-1 with the deck very similar to this. That's where I drew a lot of inspiration for this deck, and I just made a couple subtle changes. So this deck, when played correctly, obviously puts up insane results. For those that don't know, 28-1, that's like a 96% win rate. So that's absolutely disgusting. So yeah, I hope, again, you guys just watch this video, learn how to play everything. Before we get into the deck guide, I want to remind you guys that 86% of the people that watch my videos aren't actually subscribed to me. So if you could do me a huge favor and click the subscribe button, it helps me out so much with the YouTube algorithm. And if you change your mind later, you can always just unsubscribe for no hassle. So let's get into this deck guide. So we'll start by going over what Aphelios does and what the deck is based around. So this deck guide is probably going to contain like 1, maybe 2 games, because I feel like it's going to be mostly an explanation about Aphelios and how this deck plays out. If you want to see me play the deck more, go ahead and switch over to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/emotional, where I'm using this deck to hit top 8 and probably climb to top 5 with this exact list. So let's start with Aphelios. Aphelios is a 3-mana, 3/3 Nightfall card that each round, the first time you've played 2 cards, you phase a Moon Weapon in hand if you don't already have one, and then he has Nightfall, you pick a Moon Weapon and put it in your hand. What this means is Nightfall, you get to pick one of these weapons. Okay? After you play this weapon, you can choose what weapon you want to phase into. If you know, if you play League of Legends, and it works kind of the same way, how Aphelios just goes in a cycle from gun to gun. It works like that. So let's say you start with Calibrum here. If you choose Calibrum off of your Aphelios and it goes into your hand, after you play the Calibrum, it says phase into Severum or Gravitum. So you can only choose from these 2 guns now. You have to choose which one of these 2 guns you want to get next in your rotation. We'll call it the gun rotation. So let's say you pick Gravitum. That means the next time you phase, which with Aphelios means the first time he sees you play 2 cards, then you'll get Gravitum in your hand. And after you play Gravitum, you can choose what gun you want to transform into next. And then after you phase again, which is with Aphelios playing 2 cards, then you'll get the next card, and then that's how the cycle continues. You know, the cycle just goes from there. The only other way to really phase in this game is just to get the, is to play Gifts from Beyond. This is the only other way to get a Moon Weapon that isn't just from Aphelios. So you don't have to Nightfall Aphelios to get a weapon, but you can play Aphelios, and then if you play 2 cards, it'll just generate you a random gun, and then you can start your cycle from there. But it's always best to try and get this Nightfall trigger, because it just lets you set up the exact curve and the exact order that you want things in your smooth sailing. So we'll go over what each of the guns do. Calibrum is 2 mana, deal 3 damage to a follower. And also, if you already know how Aphelios works, I'll put a timestamp in probably like up here in the top right corner or something. So you can just skip to that where I start going over the deck. So Calibrum is 2 mana, deal 3 damage to a follower. this goes into Severum and Gravitum. So, Severum is 2 mana, give a unit +1/+2 in lifesteal. This goes into Gravitum and Infernum. Gravitum is a 2 mana stun an enemy. So you can stun champions or followers. But if you stun a follower, then you stun it again at the start of the next turn. So you essentially stun it for 2 rounds. So this means that if you're afraid of open attacks, you can stun something on your turn, and it'll stun it at the start of your opponent's next turn, so they can't just open attack you with like an 8/8 overwhelm unit. This phases into the next two. Infernum is 2 mana, give a unit +2/+1 in overwhelm. This unit is basically used as like a finisher. And then your last one is 2 mana Crescendum. Summon a 2-cost follower from your deck. If it has Nightfall, activate it. And then this takes you all the way back to Calibrum. So, the most often course you'll take is you'll go Calibrum, into Gravitum, into Crescendum, back to Calibrum. So this is just the most basic. If you don't know what to do, this is the most basic path to take. Because you rarely ever want Severum early game, unless you're just against a hard aggro deck. And then you almost never want Infernum unless you're just trying to end the game that turn. So that's the most basic pathing. And this deck, however, you always want to start with Crescendum, and I'll go over it why or in the deck. But in this deck, the pattern goes, you start with Crescendum, then you go Calibrum, then you go Gravitum, then you go back to Crescendum. And again, I'll go over why once we go over the deck, but this is the biggest thing about playing Aphelios correctly, is always start with Crescendum. Always start with Crescendum, and then go into your Calibrum and your Gravitum. You don't need to start with Calibrum. You can go Crescendum first, and then go into your Calibrum. If you take anything away from this, I see so many people play Aphelios wrong, and they miss out on a bunch of opportunities to make outplays and get damage in, and it's because of this misordering right here. Always start with Crescendum. Okay, so that's how Aphelios works. So we're done going over how Aphelios works. Let's go ahead and get into each card and the deck, why they're in the deck, and the purpose they serve in the deck. Alright, so let's start at the top here. Lunari Duskbringer. 1 mana 2/1 Dusk Petal. Dusk is really good at triggering Nightfall. If you've played Nightfall before, you know that this card is really good, and it's a very staple 1-drop. We are not playing a Nightfall deck, however, our main champion does in fact have Nightfall, and it curves out really, really well with Dusk Petal. So a really good curve is if you play Lunari Duskbringer on turn 1 or 2, and then you'll get this Dusk Petal Dust. You don't play, if that's the only card you play on turn 1 or 2. Then on turn 3, you can play Dusk Petal with your spell mana into Aphelios. You'll trigger Nightfall, and you'll have 2 spell mana left over. This means that you can cast whatever gun you get off of Aphelios, which should be what? Crescendum, exactly. And this is an insane tempo advantage, and we'll talk about why right now. So the curve is going to go Duskbringer on turn 1 or 2, so you have the early game blocker or attacker, depending on which side of the matchup you're on. Then on turn 3, you play Aphelios into Crescendum. Your 2 mana Crescendum, the only 2 mana unit in this deck is Boxtopus. Now, Boxtopus is 2 mana 3/4. When you play me, you deal 3 damage to me. The key word is play. Play effects only happen if you play it from your hand, not if you summon it from your deck, or summon it in any way, shape, or form. So, what happens is you play Aphelios, you have 2 mana left over, you cast Crescendum, and now you have a 3/4 challenger in play. So on your turn 3, you have a 3/3 champion, and you have a 3/4 challenger unit, and a 3/4 challenger unit on turn 3 literally stops all tempo from your opponent. There's actually no answer. Your opponent can't play an Aphelios if you have the attack token, or if you don't have the attack token, because if they play Aphelios, you play Boxtopus, and you just immediately kill their Aphelios. If you're against an aggro Fizz deck here, if you're against Burble Burn, you play Boxtopus, you pull in their Fizz. If you're against Fiora Shin, you play Boxtopus, you pull their Fiora. Like, this card literally controls the board for the next 2 turns, and it's bonkers. And then, so this is your main way of dealing with champions. A big flaw with Aphelios is that it doesn't actually deal with champions, but it can deal with every follower in the game. Calibrum deals 3 damage to followers, so this is really a good way to kill off all of the smaller followers for the first, 6 turns. And then Gravitum can stop followers from attacking after that, like the really big followers. So the only thing you have trouble with is killing champions. Well, boom, you play a 2 mana get a 3/4 challenger out of my deck, and this is how you deal with every champion on turns like 1 through 4, basically. Like that tempo, that curve, you'll win over 60% of your games easily just off of that curve, bullying your opponent out of the game. If you're against that curve, be careful with your Aphelios. Don't let it get eaten by a Boxtopus. If you don't have the attack token, a common thing to do is play Gravitum. Like, if your opponent goes play Aphelios and has 2 mana open for this Crescendum and they're in the Bilgewater region, you should play Aphelios and then get the Gravitum. That way, you can play your Aphelios safely. Again, if your opponent has the attack token. You can play your Gravitum safely to stun the 3/4 Octopus. This can phase into Crescendum. So the next turn, you get your Crescendum, and then now you can attack and pull the enemy's Aphelios, and Crescendum doesn't go into Gravitum. So they have no way of stopping this this Boxtopus attack unless they have, like, exactly Hush, basically. Which is a really big commitment, and they have to spend their entire turn 4 hushing your Boxtopus now. To not even kill it, but just so their Aphelios doesn't immediately die. So this is definitely a key player. That's why I think people that play Aphelios with any region that isn't Bilgewater is just inferior. Immediately inferior, because they cannot use Crescendum as well as you can. And using Crescendum to get out Boxtopus is the maximum value you can possibly get out of Crescendum. So the tempo swing is humongous here. So anyways, that's not about Boxtopus. The rest of this should be really short. That's just the biggest thing, is knowing why Boxtopus is in the deck. Guiding Touch is 2 mana, you know, heal your ally, or heal something, draw 1. So it's just a cycle card for your Twisted Fate and to not die, to keep your units alive. Pale Cascade is a really bad card. And I've said that Pale Cascade should not be in decks. However, when your deck is based around 2 champions and you're in the region combination that doesn't have good ways to keep your champions alive, you kind of have to play Pale Cascade. Just simply because the 1 HP matters a lot. You don't use it as much as a combat trick anymore to make good trades, as much as it's literally just a 2 mana save spell that cycles itself. It's still not good, and it's still, I wish Bilgewater and Targon had better ways to keep champions alive, but unfortunately they don't. The next closest thing is like Astral Protection and Targon's Blessing, but those just cost way too much mana, and you want to be a really cheap deck here. With all your combat tricks, you want to be cheap. So that's why we're playing 3 Sunblessed Vigor. Now in JO1's version, he was playing 2 Sunblessed Vigor and 1 Bastion, and he was the first guy I saw put Sunblessed Vigor into their deck. I haven't seen a single other list that plays Sunblessed Vigor, but this card is actually game-changing. If you play like your Twisted Fate or your Aphelios and your opponent tries to kill them early, if you have a Sunblessed Vigor, you stop your Aphelios from immediately dying, then you just generate value after value after value, and it just gets so hard to kill your Aphelios and your champions. The biggest thing is make sure your champions stay alive, and I like Vigor over Bastion, 1, because it costs half the mana, and 2, Bastion only really helps if your opponent doesn't play around it. Like, even against stuff like Vengeance and Ruination, if your opponent is smart and good, they'll just wait to Vengeance 1 extra turn when they have 9 mana, so they can go Vengeance, oh, you have Bastion, Vile Feast. And then now your unit is still dead to Vengeance. Whereas that's like the only reason you want to run Bastion over Vigor anyways, is for specifically big hard kill spells like the Vengeance and the Ruination, but that still gets hard countered. We went over Aphelios already. We know why he's in the deck. We played 2 Hush and 1 Moonlight Affliction. All for the silences. Moonlight Affliction is randomly good against the wider boards like Burble Burn when they're attacking you with like multiple elusives. The value you get out of 5 mana Silence 2 is literally just better than playing 2 Hush, first of all, mana-wise. And second of all, the making it so your opponent can't block is like randomly useful. But most of the time you're just using it to silence enemies. Hush is going to be used mainly for elusives and to stop things like, you know, challenger units and very situational. We all know why we play Hush. We've played Hush for about 4 months now. We know why it's in the deck. Sorry, Priestess, same reason. We know why it's in the deck. You play it on 3. Most of the time you're pulling a Comet or a... what is the card called? The Traveler. So you want Comet and matchups that you're going to need to remove landmarks, and you're going to need to remove big units. And then you pull Traveler if you don't get Comet, is essentially how it works. The third option there is Golden Sisters. And that's really only in the, like, grindy mid-range matchups where you need to fight for board presence. Golden Sisters works really, really well there. Obviously, you get 2 bodies for the price of 1, and then you can make them bigger with things like Veiled Temple. 1 of Salvage to kind of help your TF level, but also make sure you don't run out of steam. And Veiled Temple. Veiled Temple is a really, really bonkers card. They really just went all out with making Aphelios broken and giving all of its support cards insane. First glance, I thought this card was bad. I thought it said, each round, the first time I see you play 2 other cards, refill 2 spell mana and grant your strongest ally +1/+1. I'm illiterate. This says, each round, the first time you play 2 other cards, refill 2 mana. As in unit mana. As in huge fucking combo turns. Anytime you can convert spell mana into unit mana, it's broken. Literally look at every way you can do that in LoR right now, and it's broken. Burblefish. You convert your ignitions into making your Burblefish cost 0. That's broken. Dusk Petal. You can play a 7/7 dragon on turn 6 that refills your hand with 2 other big units. That's broken. Every possible way you can turn spell mana into unit mana, it's always broken. So Veiled Temple, if you're ahead, it steamrolls the game. You're just going to get further and further ahead. Your units are going to get bigger and bigger. You can pull off more combo turns by just getting free cards. I mean, refill 2 mana makes it so that way your Sunblast Vigor, your Pale Cascade, your your Guiding Touch, your Boxtopus, like all these cost 0 mana. Guiding Touch is essentially 0 mana, draw a card. Give a unit +1/+1, heal 2. If you ever get 2 Temples out, which I do quite often actually, in the grindy matchups, 2 Temples gives you like the nut, like you said, you just run over. There's really not much to this card. You kind of just play around to getting extra mana, so you get to play twice as much stuff. It's just like a mana ramp card. It's like if you're playing like Warding Stones, but Warding Stones gives you 2 mana every turn, and you just get to have insane combo turns. Twisted Fate, because it's the second best champion in the game, and you can level him sometimes. We don't play pick a card because we play a lot of expensive cards. You don't usually level him like in one big turn with pick a card unless you have a second Twisted Fate. He's just really good as like a secondary threat. Like if your opponent spends 3 to 4 removal spells on your Aphelios, well now they're out of removal for the Twisted Fate, and in 3 turns this TF's just gonna naturally level between things like Zap, Guiding Touch, Pale, Salvage, you know. It'll just casually level up and your opponent can't deal with him now. That Spray Thin, because it's just a generally good card, finds you all your combat tricks and save spells. We went over Moonlight Affliction. Star Shaping, because you need ways to end the game. Generally with Star Shaping, I'm either grabbing a Supernova in very specific matchups, like Field of Rush, or in matchups that I need to kill 2 big things. If I'm not grabbing Supernova, I'm always grabbing Great Beyond, or the one that gives all your units +2/+2. Something that just helps you win the game. The biggest problem with this deck is actually closing games out, because you play all of the tools in the world to control the board and run your opponent out of resources, but you only run very few ways to actually win the game. And that's, you're going to be your Star Shapings, your Mind Melds. We play Burblefish because it's and Burblefish is a good way to end the game. Because Burblefish is a broken card, 0 mana, 3/1 elusive is good. And then Mind Meld, you actually win the game a lot with Mind Meld. People don't expect it, so there's that. Not only do people not expect it, but you actually play a decent amount of elusives, and by the time you draw this Mind Meld, you've cast at least, 7, 8, 9, 10 spells. So just having like 2 of these elusive units, like 2 Burblefish, or just, if you're ever wider than your opponent, this Mind Meld will just instantly end the game. And just like we see in Burble Burn, decks literally can't work with Mind Meld. Like some decks just can't handle it. Like you cast Mind Meld and they're like, okay, I concede. I press the concede button now. And it actually like amazes me that more people haven't teched in stuff like Mind Meld to help end the game. But yeah, so the biggest thing is the Vigors help you keep your champions alive. Learn the curve of Duskbringer into Aphelios, into Crescendum, getting out of Boxtopus. That's the biggest thing. That is the biggest curve you need to know. After that, Aphelios, like I said, you go Crescendum into Calibrum into Gravitum. That's going to be just your staple like bread and butter combo. You can flip into the Severum into the Infernum if it's late game and you need to either win the game or you need to stabilize a little bit. Both of those are fine. But usually on your early game and closer to mid game, you're just going to go Crescendum into Calibrum into Gravitum. So that's the bread and butter combos and the typical curves with this deck, and that's why each card is in the deck. General matchups and mulligan guide. Aggressively mulligan for your champions. Don't keep anything in your hand that's not an Aphelios, a Twisted Fate, and a Duskbringer. Those are the only cards you need in your opening hand. If you can find any combination of those, like obviously you want the champions more than the Duskbringer, but if you find like Aphelios Duskbringer, you're golden. You win the game. If you find like Twisted Fate Duskbringer, you're golden. If you find, you know, Twisted Fate Aphelios, you're golden. Any combination of those three, of Duskbringer, Aphelios, and Twisted Fate, you're winning the game. Mulligan, hard. Mulligan, aggressive. Even if you think like, oh, I want the Solari Priestess on 3. Solari Priestess is a cool card. No, if you don't have Aphelios, if you don't have Duskbringer, if you don't have Twisted Fate, chip it away. Chip her away. You need these 3 cards to have your insane power spikes that this deck has. You can do alright without them, for sure. You can win games without them, for sure. But if you want to abuse this deck's power with the insane power spikes and the insane tempo advantage, you need these curves, you need these champions aggressively, mulligan aggressively. Those are the biggest tips I can give you. Mulligan aggressively for champions, and then pick Crescendum, Calibrum, Gravitum. Yes, good job. Good job, chat. So that's essentially how you play this deck. Your good matchups are going to be anything mid-range, anything Demacia, you're favored into. And because you play Veiled Temple, you're also favored into the SI Freljord matchups. Your Anivia and your Field Rush matchup, you're favored into those. Your Burble Burn is about 60-40. You're slightly favored into Burble Burn. Most of the time, if you can get the like Aphelios early, you're chilling. If you can kill their Twisted Fate, you win the game. That's essentially what it comes down to, is can you go Aphelios into Crescendum into kill their Twisted Fate? If you can do that, you win. Another trick to do is on turn 4, pass. Let them play their Twisted Fate first. After they play their Twisted Fate, you cast your Twisted Fate to gold card to kill their Twisted Fate. Those are the best ways that you can kill Twisted Fate on turn 4. Is Crescendum into Boxtopus, and then you let them play their TF first, and then you go TF gold card. Those are the best ways to deal with that. So, other than that, and then your worst matchups that you don't want to see are going to be like Discard Aggro, Pirate Burn, and the just Spiders, like this super swarm aggressive style decks. The ones that go like super wide are the ones that you're going to be worst against. So your favorite into the mid-range, the Burble, and the control matchups, and your only really tough matchups are going to be the super swarmy aggro decks. So that's it for this mulligan guide. I'm going to have a complete matchup guide in my Discord. So if you want to know more about what to look for in specific matchups, like what cards you need, and then how to approach the matchups of all the tier 1 decks, go ahead and check out my Discord below. It's completely free. It's not behind a paywall or anything. You don't have to subscribe to me. I'd appreciate if you just go to my Discord. There's going to be a tab that's called Deck Guides. You click on that, and then boom, there you go. You can even leave the Discord immediately if you want to. But just join my Discord, grab the deck guide for that, and you'll have all the in-depth matchup guide and what to look for each deck. So outside of mulliganing for those 3 cards, it's really all you need. After that, it's just about like getting something to keep your Aphelios alive, like a Vigor. Like if your hand is like Aphelios Vigor, you're golden. You win the game. So that's it for going over how the deck plays and all the actual talky talk. I'll go ahead and show a game here, maybe 2 games, depending on how long this intro ended up actually being. I'll probably throw 2 games in there just for you guys, so you guys stop complaining that I only show you 1 game. But yeah, that's going to be it for this intro. I hope you guys enjoy the games. If you do, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe, go follow me on Twitch. I stream on there Monday through Friday. Join my Discord so you get notifications on everything. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Interesting. Okay, so I'm at rematch, but we have the Priestess, so this game's looking pretty over. My spacebar's not working, so we instantly have a 10%. We're down 10%. He probably had Deny and was playing around Obliterate. He's in Targon. But he could have Bastion. You're not wrong. Could have had Bastion. Shouldn't have wasted Hush like that. I agree. I shouldn't have used Hush, and then I also shouldn't have just like played units. I should have stopped at like 3 units. I don't know why he's roping me on a mulligan. Feels pretty bad.
Only a fool would enter battle unprepared. We just open. We can also just open twice here.
They form
forced us to choose death or the blade.
Play this also. This doesn't really get punished by anything.
No more
The only thing that's like comes close to getting punished by is yeah, Sparklefly plus like armor. So we'll just get our little chip damage in here. Yes, that Fiora on 3. Also, this deck kind of just has like a 35% chance to lose the game on the spot because they don't have Fiora on 3, and it's really funny. I played against this deck in a tournament today, and I just beat it because he, wow, that's really unfortunate, pool. We can grab Traveler, just because Traveler can invoke us into better stuff. It can invoke us into Comet and more. Sure, you got it, man. I mean... So now we just need to draw a Hush or more Obliterates, so then we'll stop playing units. Yeah, there's a Hush, so that's pretty cool. So we have Temple. So as long as he doesn't have like... Oh, he has Mentor. Unfortunate. We can just swing here, force him to have a 2-mana spell to save his Fiora. And then if he does, I mean, it's either force him to have a spell now or like guaranteed die to Mentor. So all good. Sure. Sounds good. We say okay. We open with Traveler into try and get Comet or Supernova. There's a Comet.
Each journey is a discovery.
So we're chilling. And we just have to find a second Obliterate by the time he finds a second Fiora. So rally. Sure. Should not matter. Should not matter. I don't think if there's any way we can play Comet this turn, and it looks like there's not. We can Hush Fiora. Oh, we can't Hush Fiora. We don't have mana. I mean, we can go like Dusk Petal into Hush and force him to have a Riposte or something. That feels pretty bad. I think I'm gonna Dusk Petal just to get the extra mana. Just so that way I have enough mana next turn to play Comet and Hush. Dusk Petal actually gained us a mana there, which is pretty huge. We do this and we force him to have double Bastion. Alright, cool. Second Mentor. Sure. Sounds good. And Guiding for 1 mana. Oh, never mind. Guiding just cycles. An idiot. We should have Dust Petaled for 1 mana and we could have played Zappy Boy. Sparklefly. Oh god. Yeah, I mean, we'll just play Burble into Hush this thing, probably. Probably is pretty good. Yeah, let's swing. See if he has block Sharp Sight. So now we're at the easy home stretch where all we have to do is remove these last 3 units and the game's over. And I don't think he's ever killing us with these units, so it's pretty nice. We just have to kill him before he finds, like I said, you know, second Fiora.
Strength and grace, beauty in the blade.
Joke's on me, chat. I mean, we open with this. Try and kill Mr. Sparkly Boy. We do have Star Shaping, which is nice. Star Shaping can find a Supernova. So we just pass, and then we just go Star Shaping our face. This is quite a bit of damage. And, I mean, if he has Rally, we lose. So let's see if we can get Supernova here. No Supernova. Unfortunate. We do have Cosmic Rays, which will slow down the bleeding. But we can't even play that, which is pretty funny. And then if he has second Rally, because he's already used 1 Rally this game, right? Yeah, he's already used 1 Rally, so if he had second Rally, it'd be pretty unfortunate. Spell Thief. I don't think he's played anything I care about Spell Thiefing. I guess, like, Sharp Sight. Yeah, Sharp Sight's actually the only spell he's played, which is pretty funny. So, let's start with... Zappy Boy.
Keep up.
Zappy Boy. We have Zap Sprayfin. We can start with this Guiding Touch because it's free. Priestess is huge. If it finds us a comment, we're like omega happy.
Fish and water.
And we do have this Hush, so we shouldn't be losing anytime soon. We have an insane amount of healing, so... That was a pretty good draw. That was a mistake and a half, if I've ever seen one. So we open with Hush. Hush here, block on Zoe. Oh wait, this is a 4-4 now. My bad.
Try again.
Wait, I'm bad at this game, chat. Ignore me. Ignore the fuck out of me. I thought this was a 3-3. We should have done more. We do have Crescendum, which is nice. You know, getting free 3-4s are pretty cool. This goes into Calibrum, which is nice. And then we can play Guiding Touch on herself, which is nice. Could also steal a Rally, which is really cool. So let's steal the Rally here. And force him to just have spells, really. And at least this way, if he uses a spell to make Fiora kill my Boxtopus, then it's not giving him a Fiora trigger, which is really all that, like, really matters. Next turn, we'll have enough mana to go Priestess into Cosmic Rays, which will be a really big boost, because it'll kill, like, literally everything except for this Fiora. This is a riposte, or a single on my Aphelios. I'm happy with either. I'll be happy with either. As long as this Fiora's off the field. Yeah, fucking go for it, dude.
This will be quick. Carry our faith.
Okay, so now we kind of just win because we just go Solari Priestess and then Cosmic Rays and his whole board is wiped. We know he doesn't have any pump spells. At the most, he like top decked one. We'll keep this Comet as like the backup for the tertiary, what's her name? Fiora, but this game should be locked because unless he has like exactly Sharp Sight and then he can save Zoe. Sharp Sight is the only spell that he could have played last turn that wouldn't have saved Fiora. His hands, if I had to guess, it's at least one standalone. His hand's probably like single standalone or some stupid shit like that. Top deck to Bastion, sure. Yeah, Bastion Sharp Sight, sure. Well, kill the Zoe. We don't have to worry about Zoe leveling. Bastion. Interesting. Bastion on Bastion on Bastion. Sure, I mean, none of this really matters. I guess we kill a Mentor. That gets saved. But not really saved. We kind of just go, like, kill this, shoot this. We can even keep Zoe alive if we want to. That's pretty fucking funny. I think we have to shoot this and just let him, like, Sparkle Fly up. Because we don't die to Rally, which is cool. I think that's right anyways. Do we die to Rally? No, we don't die to Rally. Maybe we die to Rally. We could even just, like, Calibrum this and then Omit that, but I don't think we need to. Well, I mean, this doesn't matter, because we have to pull an Aphelios anyways to do all this. Why not safe Aphelios? Good question. Oh, I needed my mana. That's why. I needed to save my mana to be able to play both, Oh god, am I done? Wait, that's one off lethal. How funny. He's not even going for it. Okay, so let's start with Temple. Temple into Guiding. The Burble Boy. And we kind of just win with these Burble Fish, probably. Wow, these combo turns are disgusting. I think it should be high enough to win, yeah. But he has to top deck a unit. Because we win with Mind Meld. So he has to have top decked a unit here. Cool. Yeah, that matchup's pretty easy. You just find obliterates, obliterate their Fioras, and then win the game. We take those. Don't. There you go, buddy. Or, I like what we got. Oh, my spacebar's not working. Oh, I guess I didn't really give it to you, huh? There you go, buddy. Oh, and God. Oh wait, we can keep it a unit alive here. Cougars. And get by our Aphelios alive. That would have been sad if we drew our third box there. Sure. I mean, look at his cards though. Look at this. Homies at 4, chat. At least the deck ran temples, carries. Probably. That's probably the best card in the damn deck. Ba, 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 ba. Well, Spell Thief, Mystic Shot, probably. Ooh. How do we feel about Calibrum, chat? Levels are Aphelios. Probably just strictly better. Look at this, and now we get to play TF. And we know he's out of cards, out of removal spells. Because he would have tried to keep his Ezreal alive. And then now Temple just runs away. See, this is what I'm saying, Jordan. Like, if you're ahead, Temple actually just carries the fucking game. You actually just start steamrolling the game. And then imagine if we had like Golden Sisters here or something. Oh, he's have to hope he doesn't find a way to kill TF. Wait, he had a way to kill TF. What? Okay. Like, he had to use so many cards to keep Aphelios alive there. Did you play much TF